Is it safe to travel to Istanbul? What if I told you that one of the world's most breathtaking cities, a place where East meets West in a dance of culture, history, and daily life, is also one of the most misunderstood when it comes to safety? Istanbul isn't just a gateway between continents. It's a city wrapped in cautionary headlines and travel warnings. But does the reality match the reputation? Stick with me until the end of this video, where I'll share a surprising piece of information that might change how you look at global travel safety, and where Istanbul truly fits in. Let me begin with a personal note. Istanbul is one of my absolute favorite cities in the world. I've traveled across 5 continents, walked the streets of global capitals, navigated remote regions, and taught safety protocols for nearly 3 decades. Yet few places have left as lasting an impression as Istanbul. The city is electric, alive with color, sound, scent, and soul. And yet every time someone hears I'm heading there, the first question is always the same. Is it safe? Let's address that head-on by first considering the global guidance. The United States Department of State currently places Turkey at a Level 2 travel advisory. Exercise increased caution. That's not a ban, nor is it an alarm bell. It simply means that travelers should be more vigilant, particularly due to terrorism and arbitrary detentions in certain regions. Specific warnings are reserved for areas near the Syrian and Iraqi borders, where the risk level is considerably higher. But Istanbul, located far from those frontier zones, is not singled out as a high-risk area. Global Affairs Canada takes a similar tone, advising Canadians to be cautious, particularly in crowded places and when attending public events. They highlight a general risk of terrorism. But again, Istanbul isn't placed under any exceptional restrictions. The UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office mirrors those concerns. They emphasize avoiding areas near demonstrations, staying alert in busy public areas, and note that the threat of terrorism, though low probability, remains present. However, the day-to-day reality in Istanbul continues much like any other major European or international capital. Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade advises a high degree of caution for all of Turkey, largely echoing the same reasoning. Political instability, the potential for protests, and the risk, however remote, of terrorism. Importantly, none of these agencies are advising against travel to Istanbul specifically. They're advocating for informed, cautious, and responsible tourism. But here's the thing. Government advisories by design are broad and conservative. They cast a wide net, often including the possibility of risk rather than likelihood. And that's where many travelers get stuck, assuming that exercise caution means don't go. Now let's talk about some common misconceptions, because they're everywhere. First, there's a persistent belief that Istanbul is unstable, that any political tension in the region automatically translates into chaos on the ground. In reality, most protests or political gatherings are peaceful and limited to specific zones. They're also heavily policed. In fact, locals often go out of their way to warn tourists to avoid those spots, not out of fear, but out of respect for your comfort. Another misconception is that Istanbul is a hotbed for terrorism. That fear is rooted in tragic past events, particularly in 2016, when the city suffered from a series of attacks. But in the years since, Turkish authorities have drastically increased security measures. Airports, tourist districts, hotels, and transportation hubs now operate with a noticeable level of vigilance. Much like New York, London, or Paris, Istanbul has learned from the past and adapted. There's also a belief that foreigners, especially Westerners, are at risk of being arbitrarily detained. While there have been isolated cases involving journalists or individuals involved in political activism, your average tourist who follows the law, avoids protests, and doesn't wade into politically sensitive areas has virtually nothing to worry about. Respect the culture, mind local laws, and you'll find Turkish hospitality to be genuine, generous, and warm. Let's bring this down to street level, because that's where safety is either felt or not. Wandering through the Grand Bazaar, riding the ferry across the Bosphorus, or enjoying a late-night tea in Kadıköy, you're far more likely to encounter friendly banter, strong coffee, and the scent of grilled meat than any sense of danger. Locals are quick to help, especially when they realize you're a visitor. English is spoken more widely than you might expect. And like in any large city, if you keep your wits about you, Watch your bags, stay in well-lit areas, and avoid sketchy back alleys at 2 a.m. You'll be fine. Pickpocketing can happen, yes, especially in busy tourist areas. So can scams involving taxis or currency exchange. But these aren't unique to Istanbul. They're common in Rome, Bangkok, or Barcelona. The solution? Be prepared. Know the going rates. Use rideshare apps or official taxis. Don't flash large amounts of cash or wear expensive jewelry in crowded places. Travel smart, and you'll travel safe. One area that does warrant extra attention is alcohol. In recent years, there have been reports of counterfeit spirits causing serious illness. These incidents usually stem from unlicensed bars or shady cellars. The fix is simple. Only drink in reputable establishments. Ask your hotel or guide for recommendations. If something feels off, don't drink it. Now, if you venture outside of Istanbul, say to eastern Turkey or near the Syrian border, that's where you need to really pay attention. Some of these areas are considered unsafe by every government mentioned earlier. But Istanbul is not part of that high-risk category. Let's also talk about transportation and infrastructure. Istanbul has a massive and surprisingly efficient public transit system. The metro is clean and reliable. Ferries are punctual and scenic. And while traffic can be chaotic, it's no worse than many other global megacities. Crime on public transport is minimal if you're mindful of your belongings. Plus, there's a strong and visible police presence across the city's key tourism corridors. In fact, many solo travelers, including solo female travelers, report feeling safer in Istanbul than in some Western cities. That's not to say the risk is zero, but the reality on the ground rarely matches the fears projected from afar. So, should you still take precautions? Absolutely. Enroll in your embassy's travel registration program. Monitor local news. Stay updated on public transportation disruptions or protests. Carry a copy of your passport and keep the original secured. Don't carry unnecessary valuables. Use common sense and remain situationally aware. But don't let fear rob you of an unforgettable experience. Istanbul is a city that rewards curiosity and openness. It invites you to get lost in its alleys, sip strong tea with strangers, and stand in awe beneath the domes of mosques that have stood for centuries. It's one of the few places in the world where you can hear the call to prayer echo off ancient stone, while the glow of a modern skyline rises behind it. It is, quite simply, magnificent. And now, as promised, a little surprise for those who stuck with me to the end. Despite all the perceptions and precautions, Istanbul ranks as one of the top 5 safest major cities in Europe for solo female travelers, according to several recent independent surveys of actual traveler experience. That might surprise you, but it speaks volumes about how perception and reality can diverge. So yes, Istanbul is safe to visit, especially for informed, respectful, and aware travelers. It's not without challenges, but neither is Paris, New York, or Tokyo. And for those willing to explore beyond the headlines, what you'll discover is a city that welcomes you, not just as a tourist, but as a guest. As always, I'm Stephen with the Travel Safety Network. I've spent over 27 years helping people stay safe while seeing the world. My mission is simple: give you the tools and insight to make smart, confident decisions about where you go and how you get there. Like, share, or comment below with your own Istanbul experiences, or your questions about travel safety. And don't forget to subscribe for more clear, honest, and up-to-date travel safety insights. Until next time, stay smart, stay safe, and never stop exploring.